Graham, good to see you again. I'll just start with how this week's been for you. What have you looked to focus on the back of Saturday?
No, just getting back to our basic, or reminding the players about what we are as a team, but that would be continued anyway. If we win the game, we would still reinforce what we're doing well, little bits of what we can improve. So that's the performance levels. There's always certain things you might have to touch upon, but generally after the period we've come out of, we wanted to cover most of our game in the next 2 weeks, so we've sort of tried to continue that. So less specific from last week's game and more on what we have to do going forward, because like I say, I think like I said after the game and after watching it again at the weekend, we should have won the game. We deserved to win the game, but little detail went against us and we didn't. So apart from correcting, I don't know, a little bit of a setup on a throw-in, I thought the performance was pretty good, to be honest. Yeah,
and when you do your breakdown and your analysis of the two games or the game most recently, does it give you confidence that, use that phrase again, it is just such fine margins away from what could have been 3 points?
Yeah, I think if you take the scoreline out of it, listen, the scoreline's the most important part of any game of football, but if you take the scoreline out of it and you put all the data compared to all the wins that we've had, you wouldn't see any difference. You wouldn't be able to pick out the defeat out of it. That underpins the performance level, but we have to obviously win games. We have to score more than the opponent, and that's what we failed to do. But on every other aspect, we were the dominant team all the way through. So we've just reminded the players about what we've done over a 2.5, 3 month period, rather than be defined by one result or two results. I think it's important for us to know what we are. And I want to just reiterate to the players that we have to continue being us. That's it.
Yeah. In terms of numbers, repeatedly asked, I appreciate, about Anthony, Bobby and Alex. I suspect their situations haven't changed at all?
Not particularly, no. I think they're slowly progressing, I would say, but none to the point where they can come into the team and start a game of football. So but they are progressing. So that's at different rates, each individual, but they've got different injuries, illness in Pato's respect. But I think Pato's overcome his the appendix issue. It's just about gaining up speed to what's required on a football level, really, and certainly knowing what Pato is as an athlete, the dynamism he has. So we have to take all that into account with all our players, which we always do. But they're out on the grass, and we'll see how they progress.
Callum Johnson, is he back in full training for you?
Yes, yeah, he was. He trained yesterday and trained fully again today. So we need to see how he's. He had a negative reaction to that sort of exposure last week, but he's had another week, so we'll see how he reacts to it this week.
When you've had this hit of absentees like you've had, does it remind you of what it was like before Christmas, and can you take learnings from that period and how you dealt with it, and also how better equipped you are now because of the January window?
I think obviously the recruitment in January has made our numbers healthier. In respect to if there's injuries, we've got players to not won't say cover, but compensate for that, and we've still got a strong team and a strong bench. So 100% we have. I think the previous time we'd lost a big chunk of players at both ends of the pitch, attacking players and defensive. Whereas at this particular time, it seems to be in the forward areas. So it's not as extreme as it was earlier in the season, but we still want as close to a full complement of players as possible. I've not been looking back that far, to be honest. 4 months ago or 5 months ago. I think it's in the past now. We have to look at what we've got in the future and assess the players that we have available and hopefully pick the best team.
Obviously, Colchester this weekend, there's been a great initiative put on by the club, the £5 ticket deal for those that aren't season ticket holders. It's set to be a crowd that could be record-breaking, potentially, for the football club at this level. You said to us consistently about this is what you came for, this is the opportunity that you wanted. Is that underlined by the game ahead this weekend?
Yeah, 100%. Look, we want to be, if we were not involved in these types of games and in front, if it was somebody else involved in these games with these sort of crowds, we'd be a little bit jealous. We'd be looking, thinking, that'd be great to compete in that type of game with that type of backing. So we'll only see it as a positive from our perspective. I think there's a great feeling inside Valley Parade. I think there's some really good things done from the team, and all the players have played their part, but the supporters have played a massive part all the way through the season and will continue to do that. So hopefully we get as many numbers in as possible, and hopefully we do them justice by putting on the performance they want and getting the result they want. We all want the same thing, which is the biggest thing for me. I think there's a unity there between the players and the support, and we all want one thing and we're all trying our hardest to achieve it. So for me, going into it, if I was a player, I'll be really relishing the challenge, and the challenge will be tough from a good team, but there's so much support inside that stadium for us, so let's try and harness it and encourage it.
And to build on that, I mean, you've understandably acknowledged the support that's been shown to this team throughout the season, and obviously the shift in momentum that you've experienced at home. I think prior to this press conference, it's sold out for Chesterfield away as well, so the interest is obviously there. How big a role do the supporters have to play? I mean, you've spoken about what this team needs to do on the field, but just to be with this team, I think when that Tranmere goal went in, the roar that came from the crowd in that moment was very noticeable. Yeah,
I think there's a connection, there's an emotion, there's a trust to it. You keep talking about the supporters. They're not stupid enough. They see their players continually put everything into a game. I think in general cases, supporters will back that. They want to win as much as anybody else. But I think we understand. I think we've come to terms with we're not perfect. I think everyone's done that, and we understand that we are going to not hit the great heights every single time. But as long as the effort and the commitment is there, then we will all support that. And I think the supporters have really bought into that sort of that idea that that they can be I think supporters know they can be a supportive force, and certainly at Bradford with the amount of numbers. But having a bit of patience when it's not perfect, have a bit of patience when we go through a tough time. I think that's been really rewarding for me to witness the patience that the supporters have with the players and the team to ride through these little rough periods. And like you say, when Tranmere scored, there was an instant sort of backing to our team, and that was in stark contrast to 12, 13, 14 months ago. And that's every credit to the players that have put in so much to create that, but certainly to the supporters to buy into it as well. And I think everyone wants to go to a game of football and feel good about it, don't they? I don't think anyone goes with preconceived negative thoughts, and I think so if we can keep that sort of feeling going, understanding that everyone's trying their best and stick together, and I think that's been so evident through loads of periods. Go back to the Salford game when we 1-0 down for so long, but they stuck with us and that's Bromley away, 0-0 all the way through Tuesday night. All these things, and I could name check a number of games all the way through the season, and a significant period when we didn't win, but they were always there with us. And I know how much I appreciate the staff do, and 100% the players do as well, because it's got to be used as a positive force, that sort of backing.
A lot's been made of Colchester's form of late and the run that they're on, climbing up the table as they have done. As ever, when we've asked you about opposition, I know it's very much about what you can control and what you do, but just because of their form, there is particular focus on that. Do you think back to how you dealt with Walsall in that moment at the time, the form that they were on and the result that you eventually got?
Yeah, I think well, what we did on the day was we focused on ourselves. I think, I gave the players a little bit of information on that particular day that showed we were harder to beat than Walsall were. That was it. It was, and that was, statistically a fact. But not taking away what a good team they were, are, and have been to be where they were. But as in being hard to beat, we were harder to beat than them. And so we just. I always want to talk about my players and my team, and give them the self-respect and the to go up against any opponent. Did the same when we played Birmingham away. We just talked about our strengths, our quality, our ability to win games, and I won't change from that. I don't want to overestimate an opponent and ever give them more credence than us. And that's no disrespect to any opponent. I always respect every single opponent we play against, but none more so than ourselves. I think it's important we always respect that. And I think but even going to Gillingham away and Tranmere last week, we talk about those in respective fashions prior to the game. Yeah. And rightly so, because they've came out on top in those particular games. But whenever we play good teams, well, we always play good teams, but teams are in good form. I think we're in good form as well, to be honest. And I think I think since New Year's Day, I think us and them have won the same amount of points. So it's two good teams going up against each other. So nothing changes. I don't think the previous one result or two result or five results should dictate what happens on Saturday. I think it's who performs. It's not. In fact, it's not as necessarily who performs best on the day, because I felt we did that last Saturday. We didn't guarantee anything, but we have to turn those details, fine-tune those details to make sure that when we are on top, when we do dominate an opponent, we win the game. But we're looking forward to it, because we want to play. We enjoy our performances. I always look forward to seeing my team play. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I always get excited about a game of football, and Saturday will be no different. So, but we understand the challenge will be tough.
And just finally from me, the club tomorrow are hosting in the evening a celebratory event to mark 40 years since the title-winning team. Obviously a season that was tarnished by the horrible disaster that happened on the final day, of course. But as a manager of this team now, do you look back to previous successes of the club as a source of inspiration? Have you ever done that really in your management career?
No, I'll be honest, no, I haven't, and that's no disrespect to that, but I've always tried to understand how players think, because I was obviously a player myself, and talking about something 30, 40, 50 years ago, as an individual player, it didn't really resonate with me, as in like impact on my game. It didn't, whether it was a positive fact or a negative fact, it was always like, well, I just want to focus on me, my game, and my opponent. That's how it was. So I've always, that's why I don't talk to the players about my career, even though it's relevant to me. It's not relevant to them. They don't care. So it's that, and so I think we're respectful and understand that this club has had successful teams in the past and successful players, and we want to be a part of that sort of history, I would say. But I think that's wherever club you play for, as a player, as a coach, you want to leave some sort of positive mark, I would say. So that's where our ambition lies. So if in 30, 40 years' time people remember our team, then I think that's a good position for us to be in.
That's great.
Okay, mate.
People always talk about this part of the season with various cliches and things, but obviously supporters get very nervous, very tense.
Yeah.
That must get through to players as well. We've seen it with players in the past in various teams. How do you channel that to be of a positive thing, that you can use those nerves and things?
Well, I spoke last week about the pressure is always on Bradford City players, regardless of what stage of the season. The pressure was on us on day 1 and day 5 and day 10 to win games. That's the expectancy at this club. So I don't go into these games, or I don't believe we need to go into these games with any aspects that we've done all season, really. To be honest, the pressure's always been there for us, so we should become accustomed to it, I think. And those sort of feelings, those nervous feelings, or those doubtful feelings from anybody, it's natural, because we're humans and we have feelings, we have emotions, but then you have to control those emotions, and I think people do those every single day. Sometimes you're angry, but you don't show that anger. Sometimes you swallow it, and in whatever walk of life you are. So it's about controlling your feelings, controlling your emotions, and understanding where you have to be to compete. So if that's where you have to get yourself to be able to compete at your best, then make yourself feel that way. So some people like to be quite aggressive and angry, some people like to be calm, and I think over time you learn as a player what suits you best about how you perform. And I think players just need to always remember that. And I think I don't know, when I was a player, I loved to take the penalties, but I always felt nervous before them. Every single one of them. I always went up to it. I never completely calm, this is going to go in the back, and there was always a nervous feeling inside. But it was about harnessing that and controlling it and suppressing it maybe, and then focusing on, I've trained for this, I've practiced this, and believing that. And that's where I think players have to, and that's what believing, and that has to be their fallback position. Well, we've trained all season for this. From day 1 of pre-season, when we went to Austria and we went through hell, what was it for? It was for these periods where we didn't think we could achieve something or get to the end of the day or even the week, but you did, because you were stronger mentally than what was put in front of you. And all these actions and those behaviours and those challenges you faced from day 1 all the way through your career, basically, have brought you to this point. And you've overcome so many challenges to get to this point. It's just another challenge. And that's how I did it eventually in my career, when I became experienced about important stages or important games or big games. I was just thinking, well, I've been playing football for 20 years for this moment. You know what I mean? So I'm ready. And I think that's where the team are. I think the players are ready. I think the team is ready. So let's just take it on.
I suppose part of your role as a coach as well is continually reminding the players that this is what they've been working towards, and this is what they've been through before, and they can do it. Yeah,
that's what I spoke earlier, and I had a little meeting this morning about let's continue to be us. This is what we've done. You know what I mean? And so nothing has to change. We have to just continue to practice, to train, to commit, believe, trust each other. All the things that we've been talking about, and it has been from day 1 about what we do. We've been preparing for this period for a long time. So here it is. So it's my job to remind the players, because I was there as a player myself, and sometimes you can get distracted or think about the wrong things. And it's always just about bringing people back into line about where we are. This is how good we are, but this is what we have to continue to do to be good in the future. Because it's all well and good taking what you've done in the past, but you have to keep repeating those things to be good in the future, because that's where we have to be. We have to be good in the future now. But we've proven that we can do it.
Good.
Okay.
You were saying, Graham, earlier about the crowds, 20,000, and how exciting that would be for the players, this opportunity. For yourself, when you walk along the touchline, looking up towards the Kop and see it all full, I mean, what's that feeling like for yourself?
I like it. I'll be honest, I like it. I like going out and seeing a full crowd and hearing the noise and the decibels being high. I think that's, I've said it many times, I think when you're a young kid dreaming about being a professional footballer, honestly, you envisage big stadiums, big crowds, big games, and so it's about, sort of reveling in that moment. But I acknowledge it, but then quite quickly, it's probably 30 seconds, and I'm thinking about the game and thinking about the players. But I think it's important to sort of have that moment. I think of taking it in and actually and sort of being thankful for it, actually, and being thankful for being here, being the manager, being a player, having the opportunity to win games for this great club. I think that's it. I think that's what I feel thankful that I come out and I'm a part of this team, That's what I like. I like being part of a team. I've always liked being part of a team, and I see my players walk out in front of me, and I feel attached to them. I go out and I see the crowd, and I feel attached to them, and that's a really rewarding feeling, to be honest. And then the responsibility comes on that you want to reward that support, and so that's where we live. But yeah, I'll just say I really enjoy it.
And as you said the other day, when you've got that expectation that crowd have seen how good this team can be, have seen this team win, and sort of have that expectation that they expect positive result, positive performances because they know what they're capable of. I mean, that's a pat on the back for everybody in terms of creating that, isn't it? Creating that expectation itself.
Yeah. There's always been an expectation that from Bradford supporters for the team to win, and but it's how realistic that expectation is, and that excitement. I don't know. There was an expectation, but I don't know about excitement. Maybe 12 months ago, I think there's an expectation and an excitement now as well to how the team plays, how they commit to a game. The winning record that we've had here. So I think it's that feeling of hope, of excitement, of enjoyment. I think that's what we've got, as well as the expectation. I think the expectation has always been there, to be honest, from Bradford supporters to their team to win, certainly at Valley Parade. So look, it's we've spoken about it in the past, and it's important. It's what we've cultivated and try to create, but there is so much work to do in front of us to maintain that, to focus on the games of football, to win games. We haven't done anything of significance yet. We've put ourselves in a good position. That's it. There's still a massive job for us to continue to do, and I expect the players to continue to do it because they're good players.
And obviously, going back in history a few months, I mean, the Colchester game down there. When you look back in the season, everyone's got ifs and buts and maybes, tails, but does that one sort of rankle as one of the biggest of those in terms of the outcome and the timing of the equaliser?
Well, if anyone can seize in the 99th minute, it's going to sting a little bit because I felt we were really good on that day away from home. So, but that's how football is. I think we could do that, and then we can equalise it by scoring the last minute winner against Salford, and that's how seasons work. You can pinpoint games for one aspect, you can pinpoint other games for another aspect. So that's how the season is. When you look back on any season of football, we had the same sort of thoughts at the end of last season when we missed the playoffs by a point. When you're then looking back at 3 or 4 games where you think, that was the game. That's how a season of football is. It's 50 games in general, roughly. And you have to win as many points as you can over that period. So it's no good looking back at that point. I don't think it has any relevance on Saturday's game. We just have to understand what the challenge is. But the challenge for us is to continue what we've already been doing. I think that's what we have to do. So if we can do that, then it puts us in the best chance of winning a game of football. But that game's too far in the past really to have any relevance on Saturday.
It's between, obviously, two teams who don't lose a lot as well, isn't it? I mean, spoke Colchester, even when they weren't winning, they weren't losing. They got a lot of draws there. So again, they're used to getting results. So it's, as you say, it's two sides very much up the top of that form table. No, that's what I said. I think they haven't lost a lot of games. They've drawn a lot of games, so that's where they've tried to improve their balance of their results and keep that difficult to beat mentality, which we've had for a considerable amount of time, nearly a calendar year now, where we've been a strong team, a team difficult to beat. So we have to maintain that. But listen, at this stage of the season, where you are in the league, everyone deserves to be there because after 36, 37 games, I think everyone's had their slice of luck, their slice of bad luck, and so forth. And we are where we deserve to be. And at the moment, we've been the second best team in this division up to this point. So we've got to maintain that belief in what we've tried to do already this season.
Graham, when you look back at the journey over the last 12 months in particular, is the way the wider group, and I don't just mean the lads out there, I mean the supporters as well, are reacting to disappointment, is that one of the biggest steps forward? That you lose your top scorer through injury, it's not the end of the world. You're beaten you're beaten when you outplay a team, you keep it in perspective.
Yeah, it is important, and it's good. I think we've never tried to build up an unrealistic expectation of us as humans, as players, as a team. You know, we've always acknowledged that we can do everything right in our process, but still get beat or still have a tough time. It happens in every walk of life to everybody. Everybody suffers difficult periods in their life, and football's no different. So it's a great sort of image of life in general, really, to be honest. So it's just acknowledging that, still having the ambitions and the drive to be successful and to win as many times as possible, but understanding that we're going to fall down every now and then, and it's not the end of the world. And I think if everyone looks at their own life, I think we've all suffered hardships along the way, but here we are, still breathing, still competing, still trying to live better lives, and I think that's how football teams are. So I think I do like the fact that I believe the majority of supporters have bought into that, but you have to show certain traits to affirm that to the supporters, that you are trying and you are giving it your best, and they can see that even if you get beat but you go into the last minute. They can see it in body language, they can see it in effort, and I think that builds up a belief and a rapport over time between humans, that actually it's a trust. Well, I know he's tried his best. It's between me and the players and me and the staff. Over time, we get to understand who wants to really commit and who's half-hearted. And anyone that's half-hearted needs to move away from Bradford City. And that's the same with the supporters, the players, the coaching staff. And what I believe built up is a fully committed group of players, a fully committed fan base. And that's where the connection is made. But like I said, there's no guarantees of what will happen in the future. But hopefully we can keep that, because it's really important to me as a manager. I think it's really important to the players and the supporters, I would think.
Did the lads need much lifting when you trained for the first time after Tranmere?
We just got on with it. So it was just, this is what we got in training today, let's crack on. Give them a little bit of information about what we've done, what we continue to do. But I don't. If we've won a game, so the Walsall game, for instance, which I thought were our strongest and best performances, certainly against the opponent we played, we were just focused on the next game straight away. The next day we didn't even revisit that game. It was like, let's go on to the next challenge. For reasons like this, when you have a negative result, we can just be consistent in our behaviour, and we're not just highlighting the good ones and burying the bad ones. It's like, no, this is how we act. We take this from this game and then it's the next challenge. So we've always continued to do that. I think the players have bought into that balance of behaviour. But also the players have to showcase that as well. So it's not just coming in and looking for direction from me or anything. I think the players are strong enough and experienced enough and intelligent enough to do it themselves as well. So we continue to try to empower the players to showcase the best version of themselves. But if I feel I need to help them do that, then that's my job. But I think we've got good players that can do that themselves as well. So I don't think there was much lifting to do. I think they were ready to work, and that's all I ask them to be ready to work as soon as we're here.
And is that different? Do you sense to the back end of last season? Do you think if this same situation had happened at the back end of last season, you would have needed to lift them? Is that where you progressed?
Well, look, you just. So like the same situation.
Well, I know it wasn't the same situation. Well, yes.
It's not like. But we've always been quite open there that we can concede a goal, we can lose a game. It shouldn't impact our next one, and we've been like that as when we've scored goals and when we've won a game. We've just got to focus on the next challenge and understand that. And we want emotion and feeling and everything, but it's got to be balanced, and it's got to be a level where we've still got to, and I've spoken about it before, you've still got to try and perform and win when you're not full of confidence, because there's moments where you have to dig yourself out, and it's also just saying, well, I'm confident everything's going to work out. There's got to be a base of where you work from. So I don't want to really compare from last year to this year to that, because I think it's a different moment in time. I think there's a different history, like a 10-month history up to this point than there was at that point. There's 2 different managers in the previous 10 months to this point last year, and all that sort of 3, actually, I would say. It's a different scenario altogether, apart from maybe a few players who were still here from that period. It's a new team, it's a new moment in time, and let's not look in the past too much. Let's just try and focus on what's important, but also understand what we are. That's what I try to keep re-emphasising. This is not, I don't believe, just a moment in time. I think this is what we are, what we've showcased over the last 10 months. I think we're a good team. I think we're hard to beat, but we're not perfect. And that's where we are right now.
Fair enough. We spoke to Brandon earlier. He comes across as very mature for such a young man. I mean, obviously that's not sheer fluke. You'll have known some of that when you got him. But have you been pleasantly surprised by just how level-headed he is? What sort of background, background check sort of thing did you do?
No, I wouldn't say pleasantly surprised. It was something I was potentially expecting, because obviously we do our background checks and we speak to people, and we did meet him a few weeks before he actually signed, and sat down with him, and I could see a determined, ambitious young player with real good talent, but listen, it was only from one meeting, so sometimes you can be surprised, and disappointed. But he's turned out to be everything we hoped he would be, as a person, as a player. His talent is undoubted, but it's how a player that's not played a considerable amount of league football before responds to not being in the team, playing a supporting role, fighting to get in the team, then playing in pressurised games in front of a massive crowd but I think that's where he sees his future, playing in front of massive crowds in pressurised games. So he sees this as not, I was going to say, preparation for where he wants to go. He's really invested in what he's doing right now. He wants us to be successful. But like I think I said it a few weeks before, undoubtedly he will have a successful career because of his personality and his character. It'll be I don't know how far that will be, what level we'll go to, but 100% he won't finish his career with any regrets, because he practices right, he thinks about his game, he puts effort into it every day. He's a great teammate. He's so respectful of all the other players and the staff and everything. He's been brought up exceptionally well, and I've no doubt in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, he'll be at a really good level and enjoying a great career without a shadow of a doubt.
Is that almost the most important quality you need to find in the loan players, because they've got the ability, if they've got the other things that can bring it out of them?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I think if you're taking a player from, I know Brandon's from a League One club, but they're a Championship at least club, but Championship, Premier Division. The players have all got some sort of talent to be at that level, but it's how they behave, how they buy into it, how they become a teammate. That's the biggest thing for me, anyway. I believe the players that have come in have showcased that really well. The other guys, and I think it's part of the learning process as players. I think it was great that he didn't, Brandon, especially as the others, didn't come straight into the team and think, oh, this is easy. They had to fight. They saw the quality that was in front of them at that time. So, even though Brandon was frustrated, he was dead respectful of, well, that's Alex Patterson and Richie Smallwood in front of me, and look how they're playing, And then I have to raise my level. And I think for all young players, I think the number one lesson they have to learn is competition. That it's not a youth club where you pay your subs and you get your game. You have to be better than somebody else every single week, and if you can understand that competition and raise your game and practice to be better than them, then you'll be in a good place. If you are entitled and you think you should just play no matter what, you are not going to have a successful career. So I think the quicker a player understands competitive football, I think the better they become.
And just in terms of your ongoing development, because you never stop learning, you've talked this year particularly about how you've always preferred to work with a settled side, but circumstances means you've rotated a lot this season, this year particularly. Do you think going forward that will change your mindset, and actually when you do have the choice, you actually might start, use that sort of rotation side more?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I thought about that. I think I think I will. I think if I trust the squad enough, as in like look outside and go, no, there's more than 11 good players here, wherever it is, then I think I will. I think I think about you're right. I think it's important that all individuals try to keep improving and trying to get better. And where my responsibility is trying to help players to be better and the team to be better, I believe they've helped me be better as well as a manager. I think the players that we have helped me be better without a shadow of a doubt. They've made this job really enjoyable, really rewarding so far. We have to make sure we maintain that and keep supporting and pushing each other. But yeah, I take your point. I think it's a valid point, and I have thought about that, and I think I will do that in the future, because I think it's probably more beneficial for the squad as a whole. And when you look at the challenge of 50-55 games every season, it's a tough task to just put that in 11 or 12 or 13 players' hands, to be honest. So it might be something that I definitely consider. But what I would say is I haven't sat down to think about it too much. It's just about there. But certainly in the summer, I'll look at that when we're building a squad or recruiting a squad, that how can we get to a point where we're using 16, 17, 18 players more regularly rather than 12 or 13, because I think that will benefit all. And I've got to find a way of managing players' expectations in that way if it becomes that point. But the time for real reflection is probably in a couple of months' time, when we've got a bit of time on our hands.